All right, good night. What am I doing? Right, so this is a very quick tutorial as to how I do the two-tone shading when it comes to like characters and such. It's not by any means a complicated process, but at least it can show you how to get characters to look relatively um, shaded. So I'm going to use this that I did before. Uh, here it is. So this is an example of the character that we're going to be doing the shading for. And what I'll be doing is just removing some of the highlights and shadows. Right. I might even change the color scheme. So let me go back to the line art first, and I'll hide the different parts. So we have the that and the hair and the this. All right. So it's a very relatively simple process. So I'm gonna create actually let me just take what I have here, duplicate it, and I convert it into I'm gonna merge the group to one layer, and afterwards I'm gonna create a new layer. So first we just need to get the base tone first of all. So whatever color you decide you want your character to be, you can just paint it in. I'm gonna just paint it manually just to fill out some time on the video. You could always use a bucket tool to get this in there, and you'll notice that I'm coloring on top. That you could do, or you could simply move it below on one layer and just paint over everything else, right? If you don't, if you're not sure what colors to use, what I would recommend is actually find an image of an actual person that you want to do the colors for, and you should be able to just pick one and it'll just work out. So don't mind my lines getting out of whack here, just doing stuff, just filling the color. Righto. Alright, so as we proceed, I'm just gonna just color in those. Right, so I have a color for my skin tone. Let's erase the excess. Right, there are multiple ways you could do. You could always select the outlines or the outside and just erase whatever is extra. Right, so once that's done, like so, right, so that's I think I like this color more than the one I had before. What I'll do also is one more layer. I could put in a layer for the eye. Now there's multiple ways you could do the eye. You could probably make it slightly either perfectly white or slightly off white. Reason being, and I'll show you why, is this. So I'm gonna make it slightly off white. Of course, you can see where the problem might be with that. Pull that down below the brown so it goes behind here. And the reason why I do that is because on the line art layer, let's say I want to add a little bit of, I likes to call it spark of life, right? I'm just gonna use white and just do a thing. Right, just use a little bit of a gleam. And if you want to go further than that, what you could do in terms of eye color is a black person like this. Pull this up. So good. If you know their skin or the color of that is that, then you could always change the blending mode to something like multiply until you get exactly what you want. And because you have that white area, then you can kind of see where that brown stuff comes in, right? So that is up to you if you want to do something like that. If you don't, that's cool too. And now let's get to the piece of resistance. The part that we want to do really is the two-tone shading. So first things first, you need to identify where your light is coming from. So I'm going to create one more layer just to have that. And just imagine light going in a particular direction. Now for me, when it comes to creating the two-tone shade, it's really just a matter of using black and white. So I'll just hit D key. If you're using Photoshop, it's still D key to get your original colors to be black and white. That's foreground and background color. If you're using Krita, D key is the same thing as well. So what we're going to do first of all, because we know what colors we're using, I'm going to start off with the shadows. I think the shadows are easy. So just think of all the areas on your character or your little subject here. What parts are going to be affected by shadows? Essentially, this chin is below this neck, so what I would naturally do is something like this. Now you realize that the contrast for the shadow is actually really high. Now this contrast, depending on the type of artwork you're doing, can actually work, right? If you want a high contrast coloring, you could always do that. Even go as far as to make the lips black as well if you wanted to do something like that, right? There are some styles that use this type of shading method and just go all out with really high contrasted shadows. So I'm going to carry that down like this, neck, and carry it around. Now the thing about this is it's gonna be really dark. So what I will do is I'm gonna choose overlay, right? You notice that overlay here does nothing. So what I prefer to try next is you could try screen if you want to do, but screen should make all black disappear. You can also try even multiply, but I'll leave that overlay and I'll show you why. I can simply lower the opacity on this and get the kind of shadows I desire. The next part is probably for shadows. We just a little bit of this here. You notice that even if I go on the black or the white, it won't really affect it. And then there's also this part here. Just dropping in my little shadows. Right, something there. Alright, so be careful. Have an idea of what your shadows are going to be creating. Right, so we'll do something like this. Shadow under the nose. Just a slight shadow there. Just a smidge underneath the lips. Right? Just have to think about where your shadows are being created. So even things like here, just to slightly bring that across, you can do that. And let's jump into the other part now, which is getting your highlights. So I'm just going to hit X, which switches between foreground and background. And because we're on that same layer that has overlay, you can separate your layers. So example, I could have this one as shadows. Shadow. And I could create another layer for highlight. The highlights are going to be white. Sometimes people have issues choosing different colors. The reason why I use black and white predominantly is because let's say I want to change the skin tone. Once I have a different skin tone, once I'm using black and white and the different blending modes, then what will happen is that it will be a lot easier to control the lighting, even if I change the base color. So that's overlay. This is also gonna be an overlay, And by default, if you look at what it does, it really brightens up the color. And if that is too bright, what you just simply do is just lower the opacity. So we know light is going to be shining on the forehead. So you make a very thin layer going across like so. And because I'm using Krita, I have actually enabled what we call brush smoothing, and it's weighted with a distance of 33.4. And also light's going to be coming on the nose, right? It's not going to be too much, just on the top. And also if that's going to be on the top, you need to have a little shadow here as well, or a little highlight there, because that's going to be bouncing on that. Then, because you have cheekbones, light's going to be on that. So if your cheekbones are right there, you that little stroke there, and just a smidge on the lip as well. Probably not for that one, probably just for a smidge here and also here and the chin, right? So once you get those, new lights coming in, light's going to be coming in from here as well, right, on the ear, because light's coming from that direction. And just switch it again. So you have highlights, jump to the shadow layer, and you know in here is going to be dark. So we're working with two tones, so it's not going to be different gradations of shadows and all these different fancynesses. What's going to really happen is you kind of just want to have one tone for the shadow, not multiple tones, just one shadows and highlights. So once you get the shadows and the highlights, you're practically good to go. So this is what it looks like now, right? So highlights and shadows are there. So that is how you do it. I hope this helped, and God bless. So